I cry all the time. Like Cody, I cry all movies, you name it. Bro, I won't watch the Bray Wyatt documentary because I know that'll tear me up. So I won't even watch it. There's nothing wrong with that. But bro, when you're in that ring, man, you need to have a certain persona. And I don't think casual wrestling fans want that persona to be of a wrestler crying, man. That's all.
What's going on, everybody? This is Dr. Chris Featherstone here for another episode of the Wrestling Outlaws. I'm here with the Outlaw Vince Russo, former WCW World Heavyweight Champion. Look at it, former WWE head writer. And I am here with a devoted, dedicated 3:30 a.m. In the UK currently, as of this recording. NWA World Heavyweight Champion EC3. Good morning, Sunshine. How are you?
Good morning, fellas. How are you? I did not wake up on the wrong side of the bed. I just couldn't miss this week's episode. So much to dissect. The most important topics in the entire world. Professional wrestling dirt. Let's go.
Very nice. Way to give us some 3:30 energy, man. 3:30 a.m. energy, by the way. Not p.m., but a.m. where he is. Yes,
no, I literally was asleep and woke up to do this. This is how much I love you guys. This is how much passion I have for our fans here. Comment below if you believe that, what I just said. And, just an adoration for the hottest, dirtiest, nastiest filth we can discuss. The internet dirt, yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. All right. Let's start off with Cody Rhodes being on, Ariel Helwani is doing some really cool interviews over the past couple of weeks. Becky Lynch, Rhea Ripley, CM Punk. Cody Rhodes. Yeah, Punk was on. It was one of the talks of the town was Punk's interview with Ariel, and so yeah, it's been pretty interesting. He's been bringing some people in MMA fighting on SBN YouTube channel, the MMA Hour, and so Cody was on, and this is what he said. He was talking about his wife. He was talking about Brandy being a scapegoat on AEW and really vouching for Brandy, and he was about to shed a bit of a tear, a little choked up talking about Brandy, and all of a sudden, let me get my bearings. Why? Because, quote, I know there's no crying in wrestling. Inferno, Disco said that, Russo maybe. I tend to cry always. It's okay. Ladies and gentlemen, that is proof positive by not only that particular interview, but his subsequent references on Raw Live about our show, Vince Russo and I. Vince, what do you say about the shout out from Cody Rhodes about crying in wrestling?
Bro, I live rent free in Cody's head, bro. How about that? Bro? How about bro, I don't know. Bro, EC3 will tell you, you cannot be in this wrestling business and have thick skin, bro. If
thin skin?
Thin skin. Yeah, you can't have thin. I would have been run out freaking decades ago, bro, if I had thin skin. And man, it's like, God, it's, stuff like that really shouldn't bother him unless he agrees with it. Because if he doesn't agree with it, then it's just Vince's opinion, and Vince's opinion is Vince's opinion. You know what I'm saying? But for him to mention it means he's given it thought. And bro, I don't think that was a bad thing to say. I don't turn on professional wrestling to see wrestlers cry. It doesn't matter. It could have been anybody, bro. I even brought up the fact, CM Punk has cried in there. Rollins has cried in there. It wasn't just Cody. There was like 3 weeks in a row somebody different was crying. And I mean, come on, guys. You know what I'm saying is right. I think his dad would say the same exact thing. Fans don't want to see wrestlers cry. They want to see wrestlers beat the crap out of people. They don't want to see them cry. So I think the fact that he's saying that, he somewhat agrees. And Chris, listen, man, I cry all the time. Like Cody, I cry all movies, you name it. Bro, I won't watch the Bray Wyatt documentary because I know that'll tear me up. So I won't even watch it. There's nothing wrong with that. But, bro, when you're in that ring, man, you need to have a certain persona. And I don't think casual wrestling fans want that persona to be of a wrestler crying, man. That's all.
EC3 is an active wrestler. What is your take on wrestlers crying during promos, especially an influx of more wrestlers crying nowadays in 2024? It's a very emotional generation that we live in nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, emotion's a real thing. Context is a real thing. I think there's a difference between getting a little proclaimed talking about the love of your life live in the heat of the moment where, something catches you and you have that emotion. I think there's nothing wrong with that. You cannot help that. I remember Mike Johnson doing an interview with me before, and I was talking about my father, and I all of a sudden I stopped for 3 minutes because I was telling the story, and I felt it coming. You know what I mean? And as a man, you do everything to hold it back. Well, in reality, men hide such whatever traumas they've had because of perception of being tough and strong, and you can't cry is a real thing.
Yep.
And I think that's him as a person, and there's nothing wrong with that. I can see why Vince would make a comment like if I watch a show to see a larger-than-life uber alpha kind of male icon, I don't necessarily need to see that emotion because we know the red light's on. We know in a way it's a performance maybe at the time. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's real. But we know that it could be contrived if it's a television show, whereas it can't be contrived if it's an interview and you don't know the question you're being asked and you discuss a real moment. So I can see Vince's point.
Well, I also want to point out, though, too, EC3, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I also want to point out, Chris, bro, it was like 3 times. It wasn't he did it once and I was all over it. It was like after the 3rd time, I was like, brother, enough already. So I just want to make that clear. It wasn't one time.
Vince, let me actually go ahead, East. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, that could just be the use of I am a trained robot. This is for me to cry now to generate the story we're telling. I mean, I saw Cody give his dad eulogy, and it was incredibly well done. And I can't remember when I think about it, short of a few moments where you get caught up, him getting through that in its entirety. I know there was a huge Vinceism, McMahon, now Russo, about a man crying in a ring. And then I'm thinking about Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania. He cried. Benoit at WrestleMania. So maybe there was that hard-nosed Vince thing where he's such a psychopathic poop-smearing robot that we have the negative perception. Crying 3 times is a lot, If it's real, it's real. If it's contrived and fake, then so be it. And it probably shouldn't happen. But, I'm not as anti-waterworks as maybe Vince, but I don't see anything wrong with what Vince says because, I didn't watch Iron Man. I didn't see Iron Man cry before he did this, Let
me ask you this along those lines, Vince, and EC3, you can chime in as well. So I imagine that both of you would agree that a babyface character isn't a monolith, right? So for every Superman, there's an Iron Man, right?
A monolith.
You got to explain that. It's way too big for me, bro. That's the first time I've ever heard that word in my life.
No, you don't know.
The monorail, like you ride it. They have a monorail. When I went to Disney, they had a monorail. Is that what we're talking about, Chris?
Monorail?
No.
What's it called?
What do we, Chris? I've never heard that word in my life.
Okay. So I'm all about defining words when I use them. What the dictionaries say. Okay.
Yeah.
So the definition of monolith is let's see.
Like a monogram, Chris?
No.
The hero's journey. It's the 12 kind of phases. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Here we go.
The protagonist goes through his journey.
So,
kind of like mythology. It's the basis of like majority of our fictional tales. In some way or form, it's a storytelling trope that we use still to this day, but was like originally Beowulf is a monolith. Jesus, in a sense, is a monolith. Luke Skywalker is a monolith. Correct?
yeah, yes. I mean, that's how I use it. But when it comes to, so I'll give you the formal definition of monolith. So when I'm thinking of monolith, it's not a single strand. It's not just one, unit. It's not just a flat type of linear, spectrum of just the same type of thing. It's more abstract. It's more varied, so to speak. I mean, it's not linear, so to speak. So let's see. Constituting a massive, undifferentiated, and often rigid whole, or exhibiting or characterized by often rigidly fixed uniformity. So uniformity, there you go. Rigidly fixed uniformity. Okay.
I was describing monomyth.
Yes, you were.
I'm more confused. I'm more confused now than when we started.
Okay, let me say it again. Exhibiting or characterized by often rigidly fixed uniformity. Okay, you get that? You get uniformity? Vince? You know what uniformity means, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So rigidly fixed uniformity is monolithic. So when I say that superheroes aren't a monolith, that means they're not rigidly uniformed. They're not the same. They're variations of superheroes. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So
and they all follow the monomyth. May I recommend Stephen Pressfield's War on Art as a read for our readers below.
Very nice. All right. So here's my question to you. Vince, and EC3, you can chime in if you feel. So superheroes, when it comes to folklore, when it comes to comic books, etc., are not a monolith, meaning that they're not uniform, they're not rigidly uniform, they're not just one variation, they're not just one side, they're not just the same. There's variations of them. So for every, very arrogant Iron Man, there's a sappy, Robin Hood, so to speak, who's a little bit more emotional, and things like that. So, for instance, Luke Skywalker, versus someone like a beast, so to speak, an X-Man, Wolverine. Wolverine's a perfect example when it comes to someone who's just, just very, just crass and just brash and stuff like that. So with that being said, Vince, knowing that superheroes have never been viewed as one-dimensional, very variant, there's superheroes who've cried in the annals of history. So let me bring that factor to you. Could Cody Rhodes be acting as a Luke Skywalker in this particular story.
Bro, we have to talk about at what point did the hero cry? That's what we got to talk about, bro.
Time to trial.
I remember Rocky crying. Bro, Rambo cried.
He did.
Rambo cried.
Yeah.
When he got broke down at the end of the movie. Talking about his friend, he blew up in my hand. Rocky cried.
Yeah. I'm not laughing about
Men cry. Men cry. It's the spot, bro. Because let me put the spotlight on when Cody cried.
Yeah.
Cody cried when he said, I'm gonna take that belt, and I may not be able to hand it to my father, but I could hand it to my mother, and he's crying. Okay, so let me get this straight, Cody. So you're going to take a prop that you legitimately didn't win, and you're going to hand it to your mommy, and that's going to make you cry? That's unacceptable to me, bro. It's unacceptable. Like EC3 said, I didn't see the Ariel Awani gimmick. If he's talking about his wife, the love of his life, and getting choked up, okay, I got to see the context of that.
Sure.
But talking about handing a fake prop to your mom for a match you never won, that's a little too much for me, bro.
I hear that, but let me say this, Vince. So it's a little bit too much for Vince Russo, but the wrestling audience isn't for the Vince Russos of
Bro,
this.
I represent the casual fans. I say that every week.
And always say that that's not really a thing. There's not really a such thing in 2024. Would you agree with that?
We're going to disagree with that.
With 2024 as a casual fan, as for these numbers that we see now, casual fans?
What do you mean?
Not like active casual fans watching the product.
No, but that's why they're not watching.
Right. And so I think that we've both talked about many times that's not that, like, it's clear that is not their intent. Their intent is not for the casual fan anymore. Their intent is to play to the house as much as possible. And you see that WWE does that, AEW does that. I mean, you can see that
I think that was a personal talent decision. Because I think there is a casual fan that does exist, maybe not as many as before, or so many have turned it off. But I think that's the perspective of the talent living inside the bubble, maybe, and not the broader approach where maybe he's thinking he would neglect the attention of a casual fan. So, but why does it matter? Because a casual fan, whether they love it or they hate it, isn't going to give me immediate feedback via device. It's going to come in the form of, do they watch again, but I will never know they exist or they don't. If that makes sense. So I do think.
Yeah, but the wrestlers.
You're both right.
The wrestler, yeah, I can agree with that. The wrestlers are conditioned to play to the house, though. Like, bro, in 2024, they're conditioned to believe that. So if Cody Rhodes, like, he's not cutting promos to, like for Dusty Rhodes, for instance, right? Hard Times was to the audience, the Gavin, as he would say, my hand to your hand. Like, he was speaking outside of, he was transcending his speech, his promo to people watching from the TV. Cody Rhodes don't do that. Like, Cody Rhodes is, his audience is the house, the people who are chanting Cody, the people who are singing whoa. Like, that is his intentional audience. Am I saying that it's right? No, I'm not saying that it's right or it's a smart business thing to do. But a lot of his audience, which is a lot of Seth's audience, a lot of that, they've been conditioned to play to the house. So Cody Rhodes being sappy and crying, those are those kids, those little girls out there, those mommies out there that wants that emotional pull when it comes to Cody Rhodes. And it's just adding another layer to the emotional pull that Cody Rhodes is having from these Cody crybabies who've embraced being a crybaby. Only thing that does to me is Cody is just simply adding another layer. Again, do I think that it's right? No, I'm not saying that. I'm not defending him. I'm just giving a different perspective as far as he's not, neither is a lot of other wrestlers playing to the casual. They've been so conditioned to play to the house so much, and that's what we see a lot with those promos.
I agree. I don't think we should. I think a guy in that position already has that fan base locked in, cried for him, that he can maybe look bolder and bigger as it grows. I do think creatively WWE's in a great position and doing some of the best stuff without Vince they've done. And I would say this, would Batman cry? And neither would I, but that's me.
Chris, you bring up a good point, though, bro, because if you saw Chris Ariel Owani, if you saw the CM Punk interview, and you listen to CM Punk, he ain't playing to those people, bro.
And I can respect that.
Yeah, CM Punk is playing to the world, bro. He is not playing to these people, bro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can respect that. I mean, I think he did mention he did get a little sappy when he came back in WWE. Like he's, and you heard that with this initial promo too. He got a little bit sappy.
Yeah, he did.
He did that with AEW too, like just kind of playing like I love you and everything. But like I said before in our shows, look, CM Punk is a natural cynic. So that's just how he thinks. That's how he reacts. That's how he acts. And so if something is worth questioning, he'll question it. You know what I mean? And so when it comes to playing to the house and seeing, from what he talks about in this interview that he thinks way ahead and he has a Booker mentality and is always thinking as far as like, that's the reason why he questions a lot of stuff and doesn't initially agree with stuff when it comes to more of a longevity standpoint. He even said that in his interview. I can respect that, but I think he's been conditioned in a sense too, as far as just playing to the house and kind of no sappy I love you promos. I love you, Cleveland, like that type of promo. I think he's even kind of gotten bitten by the bug too with his comeback promos from AEW and WWE. It's just a time we live in. People are just catering to the house, man. I think for some odd reason, from a business standpoint, the house is slipping away so much that I don't even think wrestlers are confident that the house is going to stay. Like I think they're playing to the house. I'm like, look at Khan, man. I mean, you're at the point of getting only $750,000 at this point. You're going backwards. You're being cut in half from where you started. You're having Quebec crowds that seat 18,000 people, and you get a quarter of it. You know what I mean? Like that. I mean, that's what we're talking about. That's the house not even staying at this point. Mm-hmm. So I think they're kind of playing damage control in a lot of those promos to keep them around. So that's what it seems like. What do you think, Vince?
Yeah, bro, it's just my personal taste. I mean, it really is. I'm sure for every Vince Russo, there's a Dave LaGreca. Like, it's just like, bro, listen, man, see, here's what happened to me. Nobody ever, very rarely did somebody cry. You talk about Sean and the boyhood dream and this and that. But, bro, I remember commenting like 5 years ago when the women would be crying after every victory. I said something then. I never saw Medusa cry. I never saw Sherry cry. Can you imagine Luna Vachon crying? You never, Jacqueline crying? No, bro. No, and I said this about the woman. It was like every other week there was a woman crying.
Yeah, you did say that.
And now it's the men. So that's why, like, I've been watching this for a long time, and I'm just like, I don't think wrestling is the place. That's for me personally, bro.
I think wrestling's become a different script in many ways, man. I think it was heroes and villains before. Now it's just like, I'm going to use my character. Like, I'm going to build my character by having the fans just really feel every single emotion with me, all the ebbs and flows and things like that.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
All right, let's get into.
We've spent 20 minutes on tears, but
hey, it happens. I guess it's the therapist in me.
Isn't fake crying a sign of being a sociopath?
Oftentimes, if someone does that, they are eliciting tendencies. the feeling and emotion that comes with gaining attention for manipulative reasons. Yes. Yes, indeed.